morning, everybody. I'm gonna try to get back in the swing of doing this, so I figured I would start bright and early on Monday morning. And we are in the car. We are about to go pick up Jamie and get him from his girlfriend's house, and then we have a whole bunch of things to do today, which include uppotting the tomatoes and stupid things like dishes and getting some work done in our shawl. I'm really not enjoying the shawl. I can't really tell you why it is that I'm not enjoying the shawl. Like, I don't have a reason. It's just there's not much rhythm, and the pattern is written. There's something weird on my eye. The pattern is written in such a way that it is something that I really have to focus on the whole time. And I prefer patterns that, you know, you do this thing and then you do this thing and then you do this thing and then you come back and do this thing and you do this. It has a rhythm, and this doesn't really have a rhythm. But I have 13, 12, I think it's 12 rows left to go. And it's gorgeous. It's just not fun. So I'm hoping to knock that out and get started at a new project later on in the week. I was going to be working on some spinning, but my cat leopard bit through my drive band, so I can't spin until the replacement comes. And I don't know any of the angles or how to hold the camera anymore because I'm really out of practice with this, or where to look. So hopefully I'll figure it out. We're going to take a walk later, so I'll take you with me for that, and hopefully we'll see some pretty stuff. It's very flooded in my area, so might check that out. Of course, that might get in the way of the walk, so we'll have to see. All right, I will hop back in here later. Bye. So they were reporting on Friday that the bears were nearly underwater. But, just their paws are wet. The river's still really high, but it's much lower than it had been. was a thoroughly unpleasant noise. I'm sorry. It is time to unpot my tomatoes. And I figured I'd take that time to sit here and work on that and chat with y'all. So let's get started. We're gonna use these. These are my tomato seedlings. The last frost date in my neighborhood is May 10th, so I'm a little behind. But somehow, I kind of feel like gardening always makes you feel like you're just a little behind. The reality is, of course, you're never gonna beat Mother Nature at her own game. So, this is a brown sugar variety of tomato. I only had 2 of those seeds left. I'm going to make new tags as I go along. Excuse me. Rather surprisingly, this pen is blue. All right. I started my week off intending to really get back in the habit of videoing and talking to you. And I got a ton of things done on Monday. And then had a very, very intensely high pain day on Tuesday. I have had fibro my whole life. I was diagnosed at 16. I'm in my 40s. I'm in my late 40s. So it's been a long time. And I've tried all the things. For the most part, I don't like any of them. So when everything hurts, I just take the day. And I am very, very, very lucky to be able to live my life that way. But it meant that I got absolutely nothing done, unless one counts curled up in your chair in the living room whimpering as something you got done in a day. I really don't. So that was my Tuesday. I have switched over here. These are Black Beauty tomatoes. Oh, this pen is dying. On Wednesday, we normally have friends come over for a game, and they generally come up early in the morning. And I spend the whole day with my close friend and her children. Unfortunately, when her husband was on his way into work that morning, he got into a car accident. So instead of all the fun things we had planned, gardening and crafting and whatnot, we ended up driving back down to get their other vehicle and coming back home. He's fine. The car is not. But we are grateful that he is fine. I had a meeting that night with the competitive exhibits group for our local county fair. I work with the ladies that are in charge of all of the handicraft stuff. So your sewing, your knitting, your crochet, your lace, your needlepoint, embroidery, crewel, all of that stuff. Along with woodworking, and I think this year we have flies, like for fishing, over with us. And so we had a quick little organizational meeting. Actually, it really was quick. I think part of that was the space we were supposed to be meeting in wasn't available, so we were meeting in the fair office, which really isn't conducive for like 20 people getting together and sitting comfortably for the afternoon or evening. We're doing lots and lots of special things for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And and I'm really excited about those. My next project is one of those, which is the cross stitch that was advertised everywhere on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot, and my parents got it for me as a Christmas present, but it arrived really, really late, and when it arrived, it was very obviously some sort of bargain Chinese scam. Not Temu, but not any better than Temu, let's say. And excuse me, the dust down here is let's drink some coffee. The actual pattern was pretty much non-existent. It was in theory stamped, but the stamping was just blotches of color across the cross-stitch fabric, and barely enough to actually do it. Like, you couldn't have framed it. You couldn't have put it into a hoop. My friend who had been over on Wednesday has digitized the pattern from the image on the front of the package for me into a pattern, and it is so cool that that is a thing that you can do. All right, we have one tray. These are sweet cherry. I have so many tomato seeds started that some of these are getting their own cell, and some of them I'm putting 2 in, but I'm going from very, very small to reasonably large, so that really shouldn't be a problem, and hopefully I'll get a nice boost of growth here. We're gonna just pretend I have enough room on this table and scoot those over. So I'm gonna start that as soon as I finish the shawl. The shawl that I'm working on, that you will have seen a clip probably before this, because hopefully I'm putting them in an order that makes sense to me. I have 2 rows left to go at this moment, and so hopefully I'll get that done and then start in on the cross stitch. I'm also doing an embroidery project from Missouri Star, which is the US flag, but in flowers. And I have started that. I haven't gotten very far. So we'll look at that. Thursday tends to be a very low energy day for me, just because Wednesday is lots of stuff. I did end up going down to my parents and helping them. They are having the house re-windowed and re-sided and re-guttered. And there was some yard work and some internal work that needed to be done to clear access to a lot of that. So my son and I went down on Thursday and helped them out in the afternoon. Friday I took him back to spend the weekend with his girlfriend. He's gonna be living with her soon, and he is very excited about that, and I am very happy that they are happy. She's a lovely girl, but I sure am gonna miss him. So, you know, life is supposed to move, you know, even if sometimes you'd like it to stay still. So that brings us to Friday. I spent a lot of time on Friday working on the shawl. Did go for another walk. Didn't take any pictures because it wasn't really picturesque in any way. So we went down to Chicago. My youngest child is going to be going there in the fall for a photography BFA. It was a long day. Traffic in both directions was actually really, really good. I think that it's going to be a very good fit for Mac. They and 2 friends from high school are going to be rooming together, so they've been friends for a long time. Hopefully it will work out living together. fingers crossed, knock on wood, all of that. I'm now potting up Thornburg terracotta. It was a really nice day. I don't know really what I was expecting. It was their admitted students day. I guess I was a little surprised at how much of a plug it was to come to the school, because I figured that everyone there was already going to be people who knew that they wanted to come to the school. That wasn't really the case necessarily. Lunch was provided, and it was very, very nice of them to have some vegan and or vegetarian and gluten-free options. The gluten-free sandwich was a slice of eggplant with a slice of zucchini and some summer squash and some onion, all grilled up. Little tiny sandwich. I was toward the end, so I probably could have taken two, but you know, if that's the food you need, I didn't want to take two. So we left Chicago with me still being quite hungry, especially since we left several hours after lunch. But the fourth person in their suite, the fourth person in their suite is a young man from Missouri who came up, and they picked this time so that everyone could meet in person and get a chance to know each other before they had to live together. It is such a strange system. There's things in our culture that I just don't understand, like, and this is one of them, but also like group projects where, like, anyone who's ever done a group project knows that a good chunk of the people are not going to do the work. And it always seems that they get paired with people who are really stressed about making sure that the work gets done. Maybe that's a survival tactic on the part of the professor. I'm just rambling now. I don't know. I just think it's weird, the idea that you're going to spend quite a lot of money to share a very small room. I mean, no matter how nice it is, it's a very small room with someone that you either have just met or haven't known for very long, and you're all expected to just figure it out, work it out. And like, I guess for group projects, there's an argument to be said that, you know, life is kind of like that. You have to figure it out, but we don't usually live with people we don't know and are expected to just figure it out. In any event, this guy seemed like a very nice young person, and that everyone seemed to be getting along. He seemed to kind of mesh in with this group that have known each other for several years now very well. And I imagine that has to be kind of intimidating and nerve-wracking to walk into an established group and have to kind of fit. We're on to San Marzano tomatoes. Inevitably, what happens with these tomatoes is that I have planted too much. I try to plant 2 seedlings per cell. Sometimes I miss, or something happens and I end up with 3. So then I share the plants with my parents or my sister, close friends. In the last 2 years, I have not actually been feeling well enough to do the work in the garden, to get mine in the garden, so they have died under my grow lights. So one of my big goals for this spring is to tame the garden, more on that soon, and get everything actually planted. I have seeds growing for a dye garden. I have madder planted, although it hasn't sprouted, so I'm worried about the efficacy of the seeds. And I have woad and weld, which have sprouted quite well. And I'm going to make 1 bed for dye plants and 1 bed for flax seeds. A couple weeks ago, my friend and I attended a lecture on flax production at Garfield Farm Museum, and I was kind of expecting that it would be informative and interesting and maybe an hour long. And when the presenter, and I didn't know this before we signed up, when the presenter has multiple master's degrees in education, you do not get a mildly interesting hour-long presentation. We got a 3-hour lecture to include microscope slides of the cells and the structure internally of the plants. It was
incredibly informative and entertaining, which sometimes incredibly informative, wow, can't speak at all right now, is not entertaining, but it really was a good lecture. I'll make sure to put the details below if I remember how to do that. Fortunately, they're doing a follow-up where we're going to actually process. I say I'm not going to be able to make it. Actually process linen, or actually process flax into linen, or at least into prepared flax for the spinner. I've spun linen before, but I was really kind of disappointed that that day is the same day as Mac's graduation. So I'm going to miss it. My friend who also attended is going to miss it because her daughter has a dance recital that day. So can't even get the notes. In theory, I know how to do it. I've read books. I've seen it done. But it would have been very, very cool to get that hands-on experience with someone who is clearly so very passionate about it. All right, we are moving on into a purple grape tomato. These I got from the store, from the grocery store, and Save the Seeds. They're kind of the same shape as a grape tomato, and they are purple. So this is obviously me doing a landrace variety, and I did not get these in the ground last year, but my friend did, and they weren't as purple as the original, but they were still very, very tasty. Kind of a blush on the tomato as opposed to a purple. And I'm hoping that if I can get these going in the ground and save some seeds from this generation, so the purplest of the seeds, sorry about the noise, I will be able to get closer to that original varietal that I got in a mixed bag from the grocery store. You can always save your seeds from hybrids too. You just might not get what you were expecting. If I'm going to buy a seed, I'm going to buy an heirloom variety. But if I get something from the grocery store that's really tasty or unique or interesting, I'm going to save it and try it, because you'll get food whether you get the thing you were expecting or not. I do then mark the seeds LR, which is landrace. Because seeds you grow on your property and save after a couple of generations become acclimatized to where you're growing them. And that is much better. This is kind of turning into a garden vlog. That's all right. To where you're growing it, and it's easier for them. That's why your volunteer plants always grow better than the things you planted. That's why we invented the entire concept of weeds. Those are just plants that are growing where you don't want them. There's nothing inherently bad about them, no matter what they are. Kudzu is actually a really great animal fodder. And cows and goats can keep up with it if given the proper maintenance. So we tend to go for things that are easy, not the things that are hard. Sometimes the things that are hard have benefits. Ooh, I missed one. I'll plant him special. I just looked back and saw that I missed the last cell of the terracottas. Really looking forward to seeing how that turns out. I bought the seeds from Baker Creek 3 years ago now, and so they were the tomato seed I was most excited of, as this is the new varietal I'm trying. And if my mom and sister got one, I didn't have it properly labeled. And my friend who took some seeds from me, or took some plants from me the one year, very much was not interested in the kind of orangey tomato that I was super excited about. So she didn't take any. So I've never actually tried it in 3 years of growing them, because that whole actually getting things out into the garden, I'm really good at this part. But the next step often eludes me. All right, we are moving on to a large red cherry. These are also landrace, but from boughten seeds. Oh, this is 3, and they're very stuck together. Come on. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. This is 4. So when they're stuck, you just kind of got to tease them out. Be gentle. If you yank, you're gonna rip more roots than you wanted to. Inevitably, you're gonna rip some roots. So with tomatoes, you can just plant them deeper than they were already growing. And all of those little hairs, I have no idea if this is in focus. I hope it is. All those little hairs will form roots if you put them under the dirt. So we're going to take this and plant it really quite deep. It has some of its original roots on it, but that will help establish a nice, strong new root system for it. There we go. These are nice, strong seeds. I got good germination in all of the cells. It's just a nice red cherry tomato. Does all right in the container, which I usually end up getting so many of. And even in years that I actually got them in the ground, I would get so many of these that I ended up putting some of them into containers within the garden. I'm going to do 3 in this one because that's what's growing in this cell, and I'm kind of running out of space. Not actually just what I've prepared. So over the course of the last several months, I've had to go gluten-free. It was not really something I wanted to do, but is now a new thing I'm stuck dealing with. It's going all right, but it's like learning to eat and cook all over again. I've eaten a lot of eggs and potato chips this year. I've also continued to lose weight, so the all potato chip French fry diet is working. That is totally a joke. That is not all I'm eating. But sometimes it does seem like that. Those are your reasonably easy and safe options. The goal is to lose about 30 more pounds. I'm down a little bit more than 40 so far. All right, I am going to turn you off and fill some more pots and get some more seeds going, or some more plants going. And I will chat with you later, probably when I show you the finished shawl. Knock on wood, cross my fingers.